Hey everybody, I am Anibal Arocho. I am the library manager at the Center for Puerto Rican Studies Library and Archive, and I am happy to welcome you all to yet another library and archives lunch hour, coming to you straight from the Central Library stacks at the Central Library located on 119th Street and 3rd Avenue in East Harlem. Thank you all for joining me. For those of you that are repeat viewers, thank you. And for those of you that are new, our Library Lunch Hour is a series of programs that highlight an aspect of our library or archive. And today we're doing one of my favorites, and that's our library book unboxing. So these are new books that are new acquisitions to the Center for Puerto Rican Studies Library, and hopefully maybe these are some titles that you'd be interested in either visiting Centro to come and peruse, or maybe you want to add them to your own personal library. So I'm going to get us started. My colleagues who are in the chat will be providing appropriate links we will be providing a list of these books for anyone who's interested, along with other relevant links as we go along today. Please feel free to say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're visiting us from, where you're watching from, and if you have any questions, please feel free to put the questions in the Q&A, whether it's a question about any of the books that we have here today or a question about anything that has to do with the library and the archive. But let's get us kicked off. Our first title for today that we're featuring is entitled 1898, Visual Culture and U.S. Imperialism in the Caribbean and the Pacific. And this is by Diana Caragol and Kate Clark LeMay. In 1898, the United States seized territories overseas, ushering in an era of expansion that was at odds with the nation's founding promise of freedom and democracy for all. This book draws on portraiture and visual culture to provide fresh perspectives on the crucial yet underappreciated period in history. This book tells the story of 1898 by bringing together portraits of U.S. figures who favored overseas expansion, such as William McKinley and Theodore Roosevelt, with those of leading figures who resisted colonization, including Eugenio María de Hostos, José Martí of Cuba, Felipe Agoncillo of the Philippines, Padre José Bernardo Palomo of Guam, and Queen Liliuokalani of Hawaii. Throughout the book, Caragol and LeMay also look at landscapes, naval scenes, and ephemera. They consider works of art by important period artists Winslow, Homer, and Armando Menocal, as well as contemporary artists such as Maya Cruz Balileo, Stephanie Stiujuco, and Miguel Luciano. It's a beautifully illustrated book. Tells us a little bit about U.S. imperial expansion, and of course, Puerto Rico and Hawaii, the Philippines and Guam, all parts of that history. So it's a good way to get us started today. Our next title is by Marisol Lebron, and this is Against Puerto Rico, Lessons from the Verano Boricua by Marisol Lebron. The series Revoluciona offers here a bilingual publication, Against Puerto Rico, Lessons from the Verano Boricua, which is a translation of the work Contra Puerto Rico, Lecciones del Verano Boricua. The book approaches the Verano Boricua of 2019 from a sociological standpoint, highlighting what its author, Marisol Lebron, considers the 6 most significant political lessons to be garnered from the rebellion for the ongoing struggle against the forces of death in Puerto Rico. These lessons are: the struggle must be intersectional, the Criollo elite are a murderous class, debt is death, protest is life, protests are sites of pleasure, La Policía, El Pueblo, and the diaspora must be part of the struggle for Puerto Rico's future. So, a fascinating read. I highly recommend this one if you are at all interested in recent happenings on the island. Next up, we have American Negra, a memoir, and this is by Natasha Alford. Award-winning journalist Natasha Alford grew up between two worlds. As the daughter of an African-American father and Puerto Rican mother, in American Negra, a narrative that is part memoir, part cultural analysis, Alford reflects on growing up in a working-class family from the city of Syracuse, New York. In a smart and vivid prose, she illustrates the complexities of being multi-ethnic in upstate New York and society's flawed teachings about matters of identity. When she travels to Puerto Rico for the first time, she is the darkest in her family and navigates shame for not speaking Spanish fluently. She visits African American hair salons where she's told that she has good hair, while internalizing images that as a Latina she has bad hair or pelo malo. A coming of age story about what it's like to live at the intersections of race, culture, gender, and class, all while staying true to yourself. American Negra is a captivating look at one woman's experience of being negra in the United States. For those of you that are looking for a memoir to read, that one sounds pretty interesting to me. Next we have Beyond Norma Ray, How Puerto Rican and Southern White Women Fought for a Place in the American Working Class. And this is by Amy Louiselle. In the late 1970s, Hollywood producers took the published biography of Crystal Lee Sutton, a white Southern textile worker, and transformed it into a blockbuster 1979 film, Norma Ray, featuring Sally Field in the title role. This fascinating book reveals how the film and the popular icon it created each worked to efface the labor history that formed the foundation of the film's story. Drawing on an impressive range of sources, union records, industry reports, film scripts, and oral histories, this cutting-edge scholarship shows how gender, race, culture, and film have reconfigured and often undermined the history of American working class and labor activism. Next up, we have larger format book here, Bodega Run. It might be hard to see on camera, but it's a Bodega Run by Shabalala Self, and it's a really beautiful exhibition catalog, and it's dedicated to the bodega. And there is, I believe they included there we go, an insert that has historical images, and this image right here on the cover is an image that they used from the Centro collections. So for those of you that are not super familiar with Centro's archival collections, we have many wonderful images of bodegas from the early 20th century and the mid 20th century that come from the Justo Martí papers. So in addition to being an exhibition book about bodegas and art, there's also some historical images that came from Centro in this one. But the Bodega Run works across a range of mediums, including large-scale paintings, printmaking, sculpture, collage, and installation. And it offers visually seductive artworks that focus on stories of urban life, the body, and humanity to explore cultural attitudes towards race and gender. Originally, it was a series of installations which culminated in a 2019 exhibition at the Los Angeles Hammer Museum. So it explores the bodega, the corner store fixture of New York City neighborhoods, as both a gathering place for community and a microcosm of the shifting political and economic forces that impact the lives of city dwellers, those of particularly of Black and Latino descent. All right. Making good progress here. The next one is a work of literary criticism, and this one is called Catastrophic Historicism. Reading Julia de Burgos Dangerously, and this is by Ronald Mendoza de Jesus. Catastrophic historicism unsettles the historicist constitution of Julia de Burgos, Puerto Rico's most iconic writer, a critical task that necessitates redefining the concept of historicism. Through readings of Aristotle, Walter Benjamin, Jacques Derrida, Werner Hamacher, and Frank Ankerschmidt, Mendoza de Jesus shows that historicism grounds historical objectivity in the historian's capacity to compose totalizing narratives that domesticate the contingency of the past. While critiques of historicism as a realism leave untouched the sovereignty of the historian, the book insists that reading the text of history requires an attunement to danger, a modality that interrupts historicism by infusing the past with a contingency that evades total appropriation. And next up we have the Central Journal. So we have, this is not the newest Central Journal. There is a newer issue of Central Journal that should be available on the Central Bodega website. But this one is the volume 35, number 3 from fall of 2023. And it includes such essays and papers such as Obligados a Olvidar, Settlement and Displacement in 20th Century San Juan, Rent, Flesh, and Social Fabric, The Poetics of the Wound in Puerto Rico's Turbulent 1950s, James Baldwin's Encounter with El Caño Martín Peña, If Beale Street Could Talk, Unintended Consequences of the Largest Austerity-Driven School Consolidation on Academic Achievement, Representations of Puerto Rican Identity and Agency in Reconstruction, Reminiscing and Rebuilding Puerto Rico, Forced Commodifications of Deservingness, A Teacher's Tragedy and Triumph with Hurricane Maria. So that's some of the essays that you'll find in this issue of the Central Journal. Again, you can get individual issues of Central Journal on the Centro Bodega, or you can get a subscription, or you can come to Centro and read it here. If you're a university student, issues of Centro are available through databases such as Gale and Academic Search Complete as well. Next up, we have Imperial Material, and this is by Alvita Akibo. In Imperial Material, Alvita Akibo reveals how U.S. national identity has been created, challenged, and transformed through embodiments of empire found in U.S. territories. From the U.S. dollar bill to the 50-star flag, these symbolic objects encode the relationships between territories, including the Philippines, the Hawaiian Islands, Puerto Rico, and Guam, and the empire with which they have been entangled. Akibo shows how such items become objects of local power, their original intent transmogrified. For even if imperial territories were not always front and center for federal lawmakers and administrators, their inhabitants remained continuously aware of the imperial United States, whose presence announced itself on every bit of currency, every stamp, and every local flag. All right. Next up, we have La Nación Fragmentada. La Nación Fragmentada. It's a pretty interesting cover there. El debate ideológico y político puertorriqueño, Luis Muñoz Marín, Gilberto Concepción de Gracias y Pedro Albizu Campos. And this is by Awilda Bonilla Ríos. En Puerto Rico, la cuestión nacional es un asunto que ha generado y sigue produciendo grandes pasiones. Afirmar la nación, definir sus características y adjudicarle una forma política que le asegure y preserve ha sido una inquietud de intelectuales y políticos del país a lo largo del siglo XX. En este libro, Awilda Bonilla Ríos recorre el ambiente político en el Puerto Rico de los años posteriores de la Segunda Guerra Mundial, contexto sociopolítico que culminó con el establecimiento del Estado Libre Asociado. So if you want to learn about the political history of Puerto Rico through different perspectives, this one might be interesting to you. Next, we have Man of the People, the autobiography of Congressman Robert Garcia. Now, Centro is the holder of the Robert Garcia papers. So if you are interested in Robert Garcia and his political and personal life, you can read this book, and then you can also come to Centro and work with the papers and go through those boxes of documents. Only in America, Garcia grew up in the South Bronx, and in his autobiography, published posthumously, he shares his story of struggle, rising from poverty to become a Korean War veteran, New York State Assemblyman and Senator, and ultimately a U.S. Congressman representing his beloved community. Um, he was the first Latino elected to the New York State Assembly in 1966. He became a New York State Senator in 1967 and a U.S. Congressman in 1978. He recalls key moments like the founding of the National Association of Latino Elected Officials and the Attica prison riot, where he was appointed to a mediation committee by New York Governor Nelson Rockefeller. He also details his indictment for extortion and bribery, his time in prison, and the ultimate reversal of the indictment by the appeals court. This informative autobiography spotlights one of the first Latino elected officials who is considered a pioneer by generations of leaders. Okay, so if you're interested in Robert Garcia, again, we have those papers here. Here we have Militant Puerto Ricans. Migrants, Armed Struggle, and Political Prisoners by Michael Gonzalez Cruz. Facing discrimination from fellow members in unions, organizations, and political parties, Militant Puerto Ricans tells the story of how Puerto Ricans in the United States participated in traditional politics while creating clandestine organizations. By 1965, Puerto Ricans had created over 600 different political and communal organizations with different approaches, methods, and tactics. Many organizations focused on improving conditions in Puerto Rican communities, and others aimed at freeing Puerto Rico from its colonial status. Militant Puerto Ricans focuses on the formation and strategies of the Young Lords Party, the Puerto Rican Socialist Party, the Puerto Rican Nationalist Left Movement, or Comité MINP, the Puerto Rican Student Union, the Fuerzas Armadas de Liberación Nacional, and the Nationalist Party. Militant Puerto Ricans tells us of the story of these organizations and how they organized to make others conscious about Puerto Rico's colonial status. So it's a lot packed into this book if you're interested in these political movements. Next, we have Mother Island, A Daughter Claims Puerto Rico by Jamie Figueroa. Growing up in the Midwest, raised by a Puerto Rican mother who was abandoned by her family, Jamie Figueroa and her sisters were estranged from their culture. Consumed by the whiteness that surround them, in Mother Island, Figueroa traces her search for identity as shaped by and against a mother who settled into the safety of assimilation. In lyrical, blistering prose, Figueroa recalls a childhood in Ohio in which she was relegated to the background of her mother's string of failed marriages, her own marriage in her early 20s to a man twice her age, how her work as a licensed massage therapist helped her heal her body trauma, and how becoming a mother has reshaped her relationship to her family and herself. Only as an adult in New Mexico was Figueroa able to forge her own path, using writing to recast her origin story. In a journey that takes her to Puerto Rico and back, Figueroa looks to her ancestors to reimagine her relationship to the past and to her mother's native island, reaching beyond her own mother into a great experience of mothering and claiming herself. So I like that we've got a nice collection of books that are representative of people that settled in the diaspora away from the traditional like New York City centric. So we have Natasha Alford book where her family settled in Syracuse, and this one about the Midwest. If people want like a different perspective on what it was like to grow up in the diaspora in a different place, away from where there's a large concentration of Puerto Rican people. Okay, making our way. We're about halfway done. Next we have by Mayra Santos Febres, Mujeres Violentas. Mujeres Violentas es una reunión de cuentas que fui escribiendo desde el principio de los 2000. Quiere explorar la relación entre violencia y género, sobre todo desde el cuerpo e identidad de la mujer, que siempre ha sido definido como receptor de violencia. Este libro recoge los cuentos que intentan narrar esta contradicción para dar cuenta de cómo distintas mujeres viven en violencia sistemática e íntima. All right, next up, we have. Well, this is a very popular title. Puerto Rico and National History. And so I just have the cover of the English language version because one of our staff members is currently looking at this book. And then we have the Spanish language version as well, for those of you that would like to read it in the Spanish. And Puerto Rico and National History is by Yorel Melendez Badillo. And it's a panoramic history of Puerto Rico from pre-Columbian times to today. Puerto Rico is a Spanish-speaking territory. Pardon me. Puerto Rico is a Spanish-speaking territory of the United States with a history shaped by conquest and resistance. For centuries, Puerto Ricans have crafted and negotiated complex ideas about nationhood, and Melendez Badillo provides a new history of Puerto Rico that gives voice to the archipelago's people while offering a lens through which to understand the political, economic, and social challenges confronting them today. Next up, we have Luis Miranda's, I guess his biography or memoir, My Story of the Latino Spirit That is Transforming America, Relentless, by Luis Miranda Jr. A veteran of New York and national politics, Luis Miranda embodies the relentless spirit of progressive American immigrants. There is no one on the Latino New York and national political scene with the breadth of experience, passion, and storytelling charm of Luis Miranda. In Relentless, he shares a fascinating narrative of his life and career, from his early days as a radically minded Puerto Rican activist to his decades of political advice and problem solving. Miranda recounts the thrill of the ascendancy of Hamilton created by his son Lin-Manuel, and he details the suffering after the devastation of Puerto Rico by Hurricane Maria. Amid the triumphs and challenges, Miranda examines what his experience reveals about our ever-changing politics, demographics, and society. Next up, we have the Puerto Rico Reconstruction Administration. New Deal, Public Works, Modernization, and Colonial Reform. This is a book by Jeff Burrows, and it explores the history and impact of the Puerto Rico Reconstruction Administration, the most important New Deal agency to operate in Puerto Rico and the largest created for any United States territory. Burrows demonstrates how PRRA improved living conditions across the island in the wake of the destructive hurricanes and the Great Depression, while at the same time producing a reformed, strengthened, and lasting colonial relationship between Puerto Rico and the United States. Using previously untapped archival sources and a wide range of primary and secondary texts, Burrows follows the agency from its founding by President Roosevelt to its ending in 1955, situating its public works program in both Puerto Rico and New Deal context. The PRRA built the Caribbean's first modern cement plant, implemented widespread rural electrification through the building of 7 hydroelectric dams, constructed hurricane-proof houses, schools, hospitals, and improved transportation and communication across the island. Puerto Rican engineers, planners, and officials took a leading role in these initiatives, which provided them social mobility and transformed the island's economy from agricultural to industrial. Next up, we have a novel, and this is by Elba Iris Perez, The Things We Didn't Know. Inaugural winner of the Simon & Schuster Books Like Us contest, Elba Edis Perez's lyrical cross-cultural coming-of-age debut novel explores a young girl's childhood between 1950s Puerto Rico and a small Massachusetts factory town. Andrea Rodriguez is 9 years old when her mother whisks her and her brother Pablo away from Oronoco, the tiny Massachusetts factory town that is the only home they've known. With no plan and no money, she leaves them with family in the mountainside villages of Puerto Rico and promises to return. Months later, when Andrea and Pablo are brought back to Massachusetts, they find their hometown significantly changed as they navigate the rifts between their family's values and all-American culture and face the harsh realities of growing up. They must embrace both the triumphs and heartache that mark the journey to adulthood. This book is a heartfelt, evocative portrait of another side of life in the 1950s America. Sarai is a first-generation Puerto Rican question asker who can see with clarity the truth, pain, and beauty of the world, both inside and outside her Bushwick apartment. Together with her older sister Estrella, she navigates the strain of family traumas and systemic pressures of toxic masculinity and housing insecurity in a rapid gentrifying Brooklyn. Sarai questions the society around her, her Boricua identity, and she lives with determination and an open heart, learning to celebrate herself in a way that has long been denied. This book is a love letter to anyone who was taught to believe that they would not make it, to those who feel their emotions before they can name them, to those who still may not have all the language, but they have their story. Velasquez's debut novel is sure to leave an indelible mark on those who read it. And when we make it, that was the last one. So as you can see, I have a pile of books here now. And that's just a sampling of all the books we receive over the course of a year. This is probably the last 3 or 4 months worth of books that we've received. All of these are searchable either through Hunter College Library Catalog, or you can use OCLC WorldCat for those of you that are familiar with that cataloging and that library catalog. Um, and uh, and yeah, if anyone has any questions about any of the books that we highlighted here today, please feel free to put it in the chat. Um, in addition to the books and the information about these books that has been being populated in the chat, um, there is also going to be a link for anyone who wants to make an appointment to come and view materials such as these. And you just fill out a form and you can come visit the Central Library. These 18 books that I featured today are but a fraction of the over 20,000 titles that we have available on our library shelves. And as you can see, we have everything from books about history, books about politics and different political movements and activist groups. And we also have memoirs and autobiographies. And as you can see, highlighted several novels as well, including some young adult literature. So that's all part of what we try to do. We try to collect, broadly anything that has to do with Puerto Ricans. And I also wanted to take this time to invite people to come visit us, our booth at the 116th Street Festival this weekend. Centro is going to be having a presence at both the 116th Street Festival and at the Puerto Rican Day Parade. So keep an eye out for us and our people marching through the Puerto Rican Day Parade. And we're going to have a table at 116th Street Festival right near here, right near where the library is. So you can come in and get some swag from Centro. We're going to be giving away some pins and things like that, and you can learn more, and you take some literature with you, and join the revelers and learn a little bit something about Centro, and then join in the revelry. Um, my colleagues have also put in the chat the different tools that are available to all of our patrons who want to search both our library collection and our archival collections. Um, in addition to the 20,000 books that are behind me, we have over 300 collections that represent different individuals and institutions relevant to the Puerto Rican diaspora. I also want to take the opportunity to um, invite people to upcoming event, Open Boats, Puerto Rican Studies in Relation, which is going to be here at the 119th Street and 3rd Avenue, the Silberman School for Social Work. It's going to be an all-day symposium. It's presentations, conversations, live music, film screenings, just like a whole day worth of activity. So we're gonna have starting June 6th, there's gonna be some programming, including Cafecito con Natasha Alford. And we featured her book American Negra, so that's gonna be that's good. She's gonna be here. And then we're gonna have some afternoon tertulias. We're gonna have a screening of Romance Tropical on June 7th, and we're gonna have a workshop and performance by Coco Ballet, and it should be really fun. And this event, you can register for this event on Centro's website. Will open boats, I believe, will also. Kimberly, is open boats going to be virtual as well? Is it going to be hybrid?
It's not going to be hybrid, but we will be recording it and it will be on our YouTube. So if you do miss anything, you can always catch it at a later date. But come in person, why not? It's more fun.
Kimberly makes a good point, is that all of the programming that Centro does is recorded, including this one today. And it's uploaded to Centro's YouTube channel. So we have years and years worth of different events that you can catch up on in case you haven't, including other library lunch hour book unboxings. We've done, this is maybe like our 10th. So this is a popular one. And so you can see previous installations and see different books and interviews that we've done with people. So please register for that event if you're interested. It's the links for the event are in the chat. And again, I'll be here during the 116th Street Festival as well. So if you see me, say hi. Aside from that, want to make sure that everybody got the opportunity to ask any questions. If anybody has any questions, we'll leave a couple of minutes for questions here at the end. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A. In the link, there's also in the chat, there's also a link to make an appointment to visit Centro. For those of you that cannot make it to our library here on 119th Street and 3rd Avenue, we also offer virtual orientation. So you can schedule a one-on-one Zoom with me or another member of our archive staff, and we will guide you through the different resources that we have available. There's a surprising number of electronic resources available. I think a lot of people are shocked when they see that there's over 20,000 digital records that Centro has, and multiple oral history projects that are available through our digital collections. Yeah, so yeah, thank you everybody. We hope to see you at the upcoming events. We hope to see you at 116th Street Festival. And we will be marching in the parade, so you can lend your support there as well.
Anibal,
What's up, Kim?
have you told them about the WEPA collection yet?
I have not.
Oh, great. Okay, then. So if you are marching in the parade this year, or if you are just going to be out and about, please check out the Wepa collection online to get some new swag. Get yourself a water bottle, a hat, a little gorrita, a tote bag, and come decked out to the parade. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, Centro has we're upping our merch game. We have lots of
Mhm.
really beautiful designs, high quality merchandise that you can help. It all helps to support what we do here at Centro, and you get to look cool while you're doing it. And again, the Centro has its own press as well, and so we have some new books coming out soon. We have the new issue of the journal. Uh,
Mhm.
you can subscribe to the journal. You can buy individual copies. You can buy our back catalog of books as well. We have also documentaries. We have documentaries on DVD that you can purchase. So I would say go to our website, scroll to the bottom, you'll see the bodega page. Click to the bodega. There's lots of great stuff in there, including the new Whipack collection. Um, all right, that's it. I think that's it for today. Thank you everybody for sharing your lunch hour with us while we shared some of the over 20,000 books that we have here. Again, we highlighted these 18, but we always have new stuff coming in. So please reach out if you have any questions. You can reach me at centro.library@hunter.cuny.edu. Again, I'm Anibal, and we hope to see you at the next library lunch hour. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.